Let me tell you about something I've noticed over years of watching men succeed and fail with women. There's a quality that, when present, makes everything else matter less. It's not your jawline, it's not your bank account, it's not your car or your job or your height. There are short guys with this quality who women obsess over. There are broke guys with it who never eat alone. And there are incredibly handsome, successful guys without it who can't keep a woman interested for more than a few weeks. So, what is it? It's congruence, the alignment between what you say, what you do, and what you actually feel. When these three things line up, you become something rare. You become trustworthy without having to say you're trustworthy. You become confident without having to act confident. You become attractive without trying to be attractive, because congruence is the absence of a mask, and a man without a mask is the most dangerous kind of man. Not dangerous in a violent way, dangerous in a way that makes women feel like they've finally met someone real. Now think about most guys, when they're around a woman they like, what happens? They put on a show, they laugh at jokes that aren't funny, they agree with things they don't believe, they pretend to be interested in hobbies they don't care about, they hide their fears, their doubts, their real opinions. They become a performance. And here's the problem. Women have spent their entire lives around men who perform. Their fathers performed, their brothers performed, every guy at the bar is performing. They can spot a performance from across the room. It doesn't fool them, it just tires them out, because a performance is work to be around. You're constantly trying to figure out what's real and what's not. And no one wants to do that work on a Friday night. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're talking to a woman. She mentions she loves hiking. You actually hate hiking. You think it's just walking with extra steps. The performing version of you says, oh, I love hiking too. We should go sometime. You think you're building a connection. What you're actually doing is planting a landmine, because now you have to remember that lie. Now you have to avoid actually going hiking. Now you have to keep up the performance, and she won't know why, but something will feel off because your words are saying one thing, but your energy is saying something else. That misalignment is a leak, and she can feel it. The congruent version of you says something completely different. You smile and say, I've never really gotten into hiking. I'm more of a city walk kind of guy, but I'm curious what you love about it. That's real. That's grounded. You're not pretending. You're not trying to match her to make her like you. You're just being honest. And honesty like that is rare. It's also attractive because it signals that you're not afraid of disagreement, that you have your own identity, that you're not going to abandon yourself just to please her. And that kind of self-possession is magnetic. Now, let me take you deeper. Congruence isn't just about what you say. It's about the alignment between your actions and your feelings. How many times have you said yes to something when you really wanted to say no? How many times have you stayed in a conversation long after you wanted to leave? How many times have you kept texting when you felt like putting your phone down? Every time you do that, you send a signal to yourself and to her that your own needs don't matter, that you're willing to betray yourself for her approval. And women don't fall in love with men who betray themselves. They fall in love with men who stand firm, not rigid, not stubborn, just grounded enough to say, I'm actually tired, I'm going to head out, or I'd rather not do that. How about this instead? Or even, I'm not really feeling this conversation right now. Let's pick it up another time. I know that sounds scary. You think if you say no, she'll lose interest. But watch what actually happens when you say no with warmth and calm. She doesn't get offended. She gets curious, because most men never say no to her. Most men are so afraid of displeasing her that they become human doormats. When you're the one who says, actually, I'd rather not, you become the exception. You become someone she can't predict. And unpredictability within the safety of basic respect is a massive turn on. It creates tension. It creates mystery. It creates the feeling that you are not a sure thing, and sure things are boring. Let me tell you about a conversation I had with a female friend. She was telling me about a guy she'd been seeing. She said, he's perfect on paper, handsome, successful, says all the right things, but something is missing. I asked her what she thought for a minute and said, I feel like I'm dating his representative, like there's a committee of people behind the curtain deciding what he should say next. I never know what he actually thinks or feels. It's exhausting. That's the cost of incongruence. You can do everything right and still fail because you're not actually there. You're a ghost in your own body performing a role you think she wants. And she feels that absence. She feels like she's talking to a wall, a very polite, agreeable wall, but still a wall. So how do you become more congruent? You start by paying attention to your own internal signals, your gut, your intuition, that little flicker of, I don't really want to do this, that you usually ignore. Start noticing it and then start honoring it, not in a dramatic way, just in small, everyday choices. When the waiter asks if you want another drink and you don't, say no. When she suggests a movie you don't want to see, say, that's not really my taste. What about this one? When you're tired and she wants to keep talking, say, I've really enjoyed this, but I need to get some rest. Let's pick this up tomorrow. These tiny acts of self-honesty build a muscle. And over time, that muscle becomes strong enough to hold you steady in much bigger moments. Here's the beautiful part. When you become more congruent, you also become less anxious, because anxiety comes from the gap between who you are and who you're pretending to be. When you close that gap, there's nothing left to be anxious about. You're not trying to remember your lines. You're not worried about being caught in a lie. You're just being, and being is peaceful, and peace is attractive. Women are drawn to peaceful men because peace is rare. Most men are chaotic, anxious, performing, grasping. A man who is simply at ease in his own skin is an island in a storm, and she will want to come ashore. Let me address a fear that comes up for a lot of guys when they hear this. If I'm completely real, she might not like the real me. That's true. She might not. But here's the alternative. You perform, she likes the performance, and then you have to keep performing forever. Or eventually the mask slips and she leaves because she never liked you anyway. She liked the character you played. That's a prison. I'd rather be rejected for who I am than accepted for who I'm not. Because rejection for who I am is clean. It's over. I can move on. But acceptance for a lie means I can never relax. I can never be myself. I'm always one wrong word away from losing everything. That's not a relationship. That's a hostage situation. I want to tell you about a guy I used to know. He was a master at pickup. He had lines, routines, stories. He could get a number in minutes, but he was miserable because every time a woman got close, she would eventually realize that the funny, confident guy she met wasn't who he really was. He was anxious, insecure, and had no idea who he was outside of the performance, and they would leave every single time. He could open, but he couldn't close, not in the physical sense. He couldn't close the gap between his persona and his actual self, and women felt that gap like a cold draft. They didn't know what was wrong, but they knew something was off. So they left. The opposite of that is a man I met years later, quiet guy, not flashy, didn't have great lines, but when he talked to women, they lit up. I asked one of them what she liked about him. She said, he's just real. He doesn't try to be anything. He'll tell me when he disagrees. He'll tell me when he's tired. He'll tell me when I'm being annoying. And I never have to guess where I stand with him. It's so refreshing. That's congruence. That's the quality women can't resist. Not because it's flashy, but because it's rare. In a world of performances, the real person stands out like a lighthouse in fog. Now, let me give you a practical way to start developing congruence today. Pick one small area of your life where you've been pretending. Maybe you've been pretending to like a certain type of music to fit in. Maybe you've been pretending to agree with a friend's opinion to avoid conflict. Maybe you've been pretending to be okay when you're not. Today, I want you to stop pretending in that one area. Say what you actually think, not aggressively, just honestly. I actually don't like that band. I see it differently, but I respect your take. Honestly, I'm not feeling great today. Notice how people respond. Most of the time, they won't be upset. They'll respect you more because honesty is a gift and people know when they've received one. Then apply that to your interactions with women. The next time you're talking to a woman you're interested in, say something real, not a line, not something you think she wants to hear, something true. I was a little nervous to come talk to you. I don't actually know much about that, but I'd like to learn. I disagree with you on that, but I love that you have strong opinions. Watch her face when you say those things. She won't look bored. She'll look interested because you just showed up as a human being, not a dating robot. And human beings are interesting. Dating robots are everywhere. And the deeper truth is that congruence is not a technique. It's a way of living. It's the decision to stop abandoning yourself for the approval of others. And that decision is terrifying at first because you've been abandoning yourself for so long that you don't know who you are without the mask. But I promise you, on the other side of that terror is freedom. Freedom from overthinking, freedom from anxiety, freedom from the exhausting performance of trying to be someone you're not. And when you're free, you become attractive, not because you're trying, because you're finally fully, unapologetically alive. And there is nothing more magnetic than a man who is alive. So here's your challenge. For the next 30 days, I want you to practice congruence. Every day, find at least one moment where you would normally perform and instead tell the truth. A small truth. I'm tired. I don't agree. I'm not in the mood. I actually love that. That hurt my feelings. Don't overthink it. Just say it and watch how your relationships change. Watch how women respond. Watch how you feel about yourself, because the person you need to impress the most is not her, it's you. And when you start impressing yourself with your own honesty, everything else falls into place.